when the Shah and the Queen left Iran, they left all their jewelry inside Iran. They didn't take it with them, right? They left the crown, they left all the jewelry. And when they asked them, why didn't you ever take your jewelry with you? The Queen Farah Pahlavi responded, because that was not our jewelry. That belonged to the Iranian. That was the wealth of the Iranian. So they believe that the royal ceremonies and the royal jewelry and everything is part of Iran's wealth, and they're just borrowing it to basically as a symbolism of the culture. So they believe this, what they're doing, all of that is basically demonstrating, highlighting Iran's culture and putting Iran on the map as an advanced country, right? So there's a lot of ceremonies to, as a way to advertise the country to the world, that this is how we are, this is who we are, this is our culture. But they didn't believe that any of that wealth belonged to them, and that's why when they left the crown and all the jewelry, and they didn't take it with them, even though it was so easy for them to take, right? And also, if you're talking about how much money their ceremonies and everything else cost, it was a fraction of the amount of wealth that Muhammad Reza Shah generated for Iran while he was in power. Like, if anything, if you look at actually how much his income was, I think it's an embarrassment. And also, like, if you look at the palaces that the IRGC lives in right now, they're astronomically more expensive than the palace of the Shah. But the Shah deserves so much more. The Shah deserves so much more, given how much he lifted people out of poverty in Iran with his policies. And the tortures have been proven to be false. When Shah was accused to be torturing people in Iran, he challenged the international community to come and investigate, and they came and he opened the prisons to come and investigate everything. And they asked the prisoners what their complaints were. Some of the complaints were that they didn't like the brand of soap. Some of the complaints were that they didn't like the brand of cigarettes they had. If you actually look at the prison cells for some of the terrorists, they had like big studios that they could paint, and people who were accused of throwing grenades to kill people were given 2 to 3 year prison sentences, which is insane for somebody who throwing a grenade to kill people. I don't know why they released them after 3 years. So before, the Shah was very, very eager to make sure that he ends physical torture. He was okay with psychological torture. I'm being like fully transparent. He thought that psychological torture is okay, but should be used. But he was very sensitive about making sure physical torture was completely ended under his rule. However, I don't. I'm pretty sure that some Sawak members sometimes used it anyways, but the Shah was very much against it and was trying to completely end it. All right,
Okay.
let's go.
Can we move on the list or
Yeah,
yeah?
yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah.
that
Let's go. Yeah.
okay? So we had the LF right now.
No, it's good. Go
Okay,
ahead.
great. Yeah, I was just thinking. So, by the way, sorry about yesterday when I butt in. Part of the reason is listening to people talk about constitutional monarchy and not understanding the principles of it. So, listening to you explain about the Shah, previous Shah, and the attitude towards the ceremonial jewels, it's exactly the same, for example, in the UK. Those things are seen as the nation's things. It's the crown or part of the nation. It's not personal wealth. But what I was going to say actually was connected to the propaganda and just watching this for a long time and increasingly seeing it pop up even more, especially in the last, I'd say, a week for me. Like I keep seeing the same kind of propaganda. I've heard that he tortured people. I've heard, I've heard a lot of, I've even heard the chant Magba dictator as opposed to homine, because I understand that to include the Shah. Like, am I
No,
right about that? Like, so they mean
no,
like,
it doesn't. No, it
no,
doesn't.
because
No.
somebody I randomly met someone who supports what's her surname? Mariam Raj. What's her surname? The MEK
Mariam
lady.
Rajavi, the cult leader.
Rajavi. That's it. Yeah. And he was saying that, and I was thinking about that chant because listening to
Audio,
it's
your
going.
audio is bad
Okay.
again. Just tell me your main point so that I will
Okay.
repeat it to
Yeah.
other
My
people.
main point was basically that listening to the propaganda, the way they've been saying it, it's very clear that it's consistently the same points. The points of
Yep.
dictator, torturer, blah, blah, blah. But listening to it for me, it sounds a lot like projection in the same way, and you actually already said this, in the same way that people will say, "Oh, Israel's, they it's a genocide what they're doing," but also sort of apartheid claims because
Right,
it's like
right.
a projectionist. Yeah, so to me, I'm just watching this and it seems very parallel because the people who would do those things are projecting that
O-
onto the other
Okay, guys.
people.
LF,
Yeah.
because your audio is really bad.
Okay.
But I
No
got the
worries.
point. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, there was
But thank
something
you.
else, but no worries.
Okay, who's next?
We had a Vered here. Where is she? Am I seeing things? All right.
Maybe she left.
Okay, so Tom.
Yeah, hi. It sounds like a stupid question, but so they're called the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC. But I'm writing. I want to write about them eventually. So I want to know like the best evidence that they're actually Islamic. And as ChatGPT tells me, the legal and constitutional evidence is the strongest. It says guard the Islamic Revolution and its achievements. That's Article 150 of the Constitution of the Islamic Republic of Iran, which means like protecting Islam as interpreted by the Islamic Republic is one of its main goals. So could you give me some info on that, on why why they're explicitly
You want
Islamic?
evidence for IRGC being Islamic?
Yes, yes, yes. Because I'm
Do you
writing
also
about them.
would you
I
also
have to. I
okay,
need to get the evidence for it.
so
It's in the name.
let me improve your question, okay? It's in their name, right? And it's in every single one of their mission statements, right?
And let's say the name would be Fruity Toodles. They have apostasy laws and stuff like that. So that's your evidence.
Your writing should be more nuanced. You shouldn't need to show IRGC as Islam. What you need to investigate is that IRGC cares about Islam and not about Iran. That is a more interesting thing to investigate, that they don't care about Iran and they actually want to use Iran for the sake of Islam. So that's the more interesting thing, because some people might think that IRGC is trying to protect Iran and Islam, but if you actually look at their name and their mission statement and everything that they say that they want to do, nothing they do is about Iran at all. Everything they do is about Islam. So go with that angle instead. And yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you, Tom. Samantha.
Oh, I just wanted to say I'm sorry for supporting the CCP, and I really hope Iran is free.
Well,
Me too.
thank you. I appreciate that, Samantha. And don't be sorry. I really admire your ability to investigate and change, and that's better than 99% of the people out there. So you should be proud of that. Okay, the fact that you evaluate, you investigate, and you change your opinion. So there's nothing to be sorry about there. Okay, you should be proud of yourself.
Hi, hey. I do have a question for you about. So earlier you talked about how the Shah was incredibly nice, maybe a bit too forgiving, but obviously from the state he got it from the start was a bit complicated. The question is now, let's say revolution is done, there's the plan. How do you know that he won't be as naive as he was? Because I feel like there was a lot of naivety. Is as much goodwill there is. Like we still have minority, but still minority that are very extreme and do support the regime.
So let me be clear. I say if there is any criticism for Muhammad Reza Shah, it would be that he was too lenient. Okay, but I recently changed my mind and I understood him. I understand why I understood. Here's the thing, okay? So Muhammad Reza Shah, he was so lenient and he was so kind to the Iranian people that when the Islamic Revolution happened, his generals were telling him, just give us the order. We will shoot at these people. Like, we will end this revolution. And he said, I'd rather just not rule. If I have to rule by shedding blood, I just rather not rule. So he left Iran, and so many Iranians who love him say that that was his biggest mistake, because we were left with 50 years of Islamic Republic just because didn't want to kill just some people, right? And like, just you should have just killed those people and millions of lives would have been saved. You could have killed thousands and saved millions of lives. And I used to think that as well. And I thought he should have just killed those people, right? But I was wrong, because my new understanding is that you could not have a proper, prosperous, growing society if the ruler understands what values and what standards and what methods you should have, but the population doesn't, right? I think that Muhammad Reza Shah should did the right thing for us to let us just experience what we were fighting for, and to realize how ungrateful we were. Everything was growing so fast, and we thought we weren't looking at where we just were just like a minute ago, right? And we were asking our Shah to, like, that's how we should be immediately, right? And we were ungrateful to our Shah, and the Shah left, and he didn't rule over us by force. And now we have a more mature population in Iran. So now, when we want Pahlavi, we are begging for Pahlavi. Like, we're not ungrateful anymore. We now realize what he was doing. We now realize the values, the methods, the ideas that makes a nation great. So this time, it's not going to be. This time, when we go back to Pahlavi, it's not going to be from the bottom up.
I
So
agree that what he did was was the right decision, because the whole point is that he wanted to bring it closer to the West and giving that choice to the people. It's great, but right now we also do have a certain amount of population that is very radical,
right,
and even though it's a small percentage, we're still talking about at least a few millions, and
yeah.
that can also be a threat. How do you think the Shah will handle the situation? Because
He's not going to be handling it, right? Because he's not going to be an absolute monarch, right? So it's not like he's going to be the ultimate decision maker. We're going to be a democracy. So when it comes to security matters, I'm thinking that's going to be the prime minister mostly deciding that, and the prime minister is indirectly elected by the people. So if he does become the Shah, I think that's not going to be part of his responsibility. I think the prime minister would be more directly involved with that, right? Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
yes, if the power was in your hands, what would you do? Because obviously, we both know the danger of Islam, and especially extremism, like in
Right.
Iran and Israel. We know. What would you do in that situation?
I will go Old Testament on them. Right. I will find these people all wherever they're hiding in their holes, and I will drag them out. And if I have any excuse to eliminate them, I will take advantage of that. Like, if I was part of the military or the intelligence, I would try to come up with ways to incentivize them to do something that I could actually take them out instead of jailing them. But I would, yeah. So, I mean, I would also use the advantage of the fact that we're in a transition period. By the way, I don't think it's millions of people. I think there's millions of people with shit ideas, but the ones who are going to be
Dangerous.
terrorists, I, yes, I think they're going to be more in the tens of thousands. There are going to be millions of people with really shit ideas, but the ones that are going to pick up arms and going to be a problem for the society, the terrorists, they are going to be in tens of thousands, not in millions. And yeah, and I think they need to be. I think that, especially given that the transition period is going to be the most sensitive time, I think you need to be extremely intolerant.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, you're welcome.
And BT now.
Can you give us a full list, just in case people
Yes, I
who
can. It's BT,
joined it late?
myself, LD, Babak, Michael, Lindsay, Uncle, Oscar, and Van Hendrik.
Cool.
And two people, Arthur and Haiti, also just raised their hand. Go on, BT.
Okay, Armin,
Yes.
talk to me about Qatar. Let me give you my kind of preface and question, and I want to see how you feel about this. We know that Qatar sits on the, what's it called? Whatever, the field of their natural gas with Iran, right?
Yes.
So they are going to benefit from having a decent relationship with the Shah, given that this is something that they share. Moving forward, they would benefit with a decent relationship with the Shah because of this. They also receive a lot of protection from the United States, right? With our base in Doha. So that would lead me to believe that moving forward, we might be able to assume that they could kind of lean to a more Western cooperative, whatever. They still love to host terrorists. They very clearly, their second hobby is putting money into the education system in the US to undermine our stability here. They promote themselves as these some sort of, mediators, right, between terrorists and everybody else. They're clearly not innocent mediators. What kind of position will we have between us when the IRGC falls and we have the Shah back, between him and the United States? Have we now kind of put them into a corner in a sense? And do you expect anything decent coming out of them moving forward? Potentially not of their own goodwill, but how is that relationship going to look in your eyes right now?
So the Qatari government was saved by the IRGC, by the Islamic Republic, when Saudi Arabia and a couple other countries tried to put a blockade on them. So the Qataris owe everything right now to the Islamic Republic protecting them at that point. The Islamic Republic and Turkey was involved as well. And also the Qatari, like with regards to the gas fields, they actually love the Islamic Republic because the Islamic Republic is incapable of extracting gas from their side.
Right.
So I think I don't know how it works. Like I'm not, but I think like that means like a lot more is left for Qatar to extract because the
They're
Islamic
taking
Republic
more.
is not.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. So wouldn't that cause like a lot of hostility? Like the fact that the new regime, the new government is going to not be tolerating any of the Qatari BS, and also they're now going to be competing for who can extract the most gas from that gas field. So I think like that doesn't that cause hostility between them? I don't know, but
Well, I
the
mean,
the, the,
on the
the
surface, potentially, yes, but I think,
yeah.
you know, they, at some point, they're going to have to find some sort of relations and agreement, you know,
Yes.
whatever that looks like. I mean,
So I mean, I think the Qataris always use soft power. Okay, it's not like they believed in radical Islam or wokeism. They believe in having leverage everywhere, right? So if they have
right.
to promote leftist wokeism or radical Islam or I don't know Nick Fuentes type right leaning garbage, as long as it gives them leverage, more soft power, they will spread it, right? So given that, I don't think that's going to change. The problem is that they're a very, very, very small country and they feel like everybody around them is going to be hostile against them and there's not that much military power that they could use against anybody, so the only leverage they have is to become a negotiating table for different countries and having a lot of soft power, and I don't see how that dynamic is going to change. So I think that they're going to do the same thing in Iran like they do in US and other places. So I think a lot of Iranian people are going to get angry about that. So I think we're gonna have the similar views that you guys have over Qatar. We're gonna have that in the future against them as well, especially given that a lot of Iranians, um, have a historical, tension with many of the Persian Arab countries around the Persian Gulf, right?
Mhm.
So and I think that is going to somehow impact our politics. But Prince Reza Pahlavi, he's insisting on us attempting at least to have good relationship with everybody in the region. So we're going to make that attempt. So if
Sure.
if that doesn't work, it's going to be because of the other side.
Sure. And so back to what
Yeah.
you had spoken about the IRGC, covering for their ass. It's clearly not a favor. I don't think it's not a favor that they're going to be able to call back on right now in a time of need and ask Qatar for anything overt at least. Certainly, I
Oh
don't
no.
expect that they can flee and seek refuge there either. Is that in part due to Trump having cozied up with Qatar in recent months?
Well, maybe that, and also the fact that Israel just bombed some Hamas leaders, attempted at least to kill some Hamas leaders in Qatar. That doesn't seem like a safe place anymore, given that Israel doesn't justifiably doesn't respect
Yeah,
Qatari, Qatari BS anymore. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
Good
that
point.
doesn't seem like a good destination anymore after what Israel did in Doha.
I'll give up
Yeah,
my
well,
turn, but for another time, I'm very curious to hear a little more from you as well about how this is going to affect the Russia China three-way marriage. But anyhow, thank you.
okay, sounds good. Thank you, BT June. And then who's next? So
It
I
would be
the
me.
list. Oh, that would be you.
Yes, sure.
Mhm.
So I was listening to you and Goldie, and you both were pretty much on the question when is some sort of help is going to come to the Iranian people. And I was thinking, because you know my style by now, I like to analyze the army aspect because this is the stuff that I kind of know. And so I know the American MO, which is usually to overpower and overwhelm the enemy with not just technology, but amazing mobilization. They are the masters of mobilizing. It's not easy to take 200,000 people and move them to fight some other place. And they've done it a few times. And so this is their MO, and they're not going to show up not ready when their American bases are threatened by ballistic missiles. They're not going to attack before they know that their bases are not going to be harmed, and they're going to mobilize the relevant defense systems and people to the place. Now, let's say that it was planned a few days ago and Trump is not emotional and just spitting things out. I'm estimating that it will take the US military to mobilize from America at least 10 days. Let's say they're not doing it from America because they have lots of bases that they can operate from in big operations like this. They can take things from Cuba, from Qatar, from places that they have all the logistics. Even then, it'll take about a week, maybe a little less. So the answer is I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what they're planning. If it's
Mm,
just an air raid, a massive air raid, they can do it from Qatar, and that's it.
mm.
But if it's more complicated than this and they need to mobilize forces, a few days more at least. I wanted to see what you think about it because that was what I thought until I saw the pizza test of the Pentagon.
Yes, I saw that, and I'm gonna show it to Goldie when we
And
go
it
back on
broke
live.
everything that I thought. The
Oh,
whole pretty lecture that I just gave shattered. So what do you
uh,
think?
well, actually, what you're saying makes a lot of sense because now that I think about it, as much of a paper tiger the Islamic Republic is, they could still do a lot of damage, especially if they think that this is it. If, like, imagine if you're the Islamic Republic and you think that, okay, we're getting close to collapse, right? And if we don't do everything we can, then this is like we might as well just use whatever we have left, or else we're gonna die, right? So, like when the Islamic Republic was fighting against Israel in the 12-day war, obviously they didn't want to use everything. They want to use like a small percentage of what they had, just in case the war keeps on going on, so that they don't run out. But if they think like, oh my god, this is like at the end, then they're just going to unload everything they have left on everybody around them, including Israel. So you're right that if that's the assessment of the United States, then they require more preparation to be able to defend themselves against that unloading of all of your ammunition and everything else that you have left. So you're right about that.
So
That
what
makes
is this
sense.
pizza thing?
So the pizza thing might
Something's
be like
cooking.
they are, yeah, so they might be cooking, but based on what you're saying, like they require, like all of that requires a week of planning. So that means a week of ordering pizzas. So that means it might continue for the next couple of days. So we'll see.
I have an update from a Western official, a change of position from defense to position of imminent attack. Like right now, I got sent that. The steps involve troop movement. Now, after sunset, Iran has begun clearing these corridors. That means clearing specific airspaces to allow missiles to launch and external targets without colliding with civilian or friendly aircrafts. Okay, basically, in short, Iran is basically now clearing areas that might get hit if they try to launch their missiles, so they can launch their missiles and do a full-scale attack. I just got that update like literally a minute ago. And in general, about the whole strategy thing of the military, what I can tell you is that ever since the 12th Day War, there have been talks about it. Let's just say that the 12th Day War is only officially 12th day for us. We pretty much knew that this is the way it's going to go. There have been preparations, and obviously still a lot of things that you need to think about, of like, how much do you want Israel to do things, how much do you want the United States to do things. I guess we're gonna see things real soon.
So while you're checking,
Iran, okay, so the US will attack in Iran in the next 24 hours.
by who?
The US will attack in Iran in the next 24 hours.
Yeah, who's
No,
the
who's
news
saying that?
agency? Who's saying that?
Sources
We should move.
in the security
How about
system.
how about
ministry.
this? How about Sapir? We need to move to other. We need to move on to
Right.
other people's. Can you post a link in the chat and we could just check
Yes.
it there? Okay, thank you.
It's in Hebrew, so you're gonna have to translate it.
It's okay. We can
I'll
translate.
I'll take a look at it anyway. Heidi or Hildy?
Heidi, hi.
Heidi, hello.
It's the first time I've used this, so I hope I sound okay.
Yes.
One of the
Welcome to
things
the group.
is, oh, thank you. Armin, you were exactly right what you said earlier about understanding of previous generations, because I was an older teenager when the revolution happened. And I think when younger people think about this, remember the world was entirely ignorant, the Western world, about Islam. Most people that lived in the West had never met an Iranian. They didn't know they existed before the revolution, which is why many of the Iranian refugees that came to the West, I happen to live in a town that received a lot of them, they called themselves Persian. That's why we're so connected to the word Persian instead of Iranian. But even the Middle East had no clue as to the level of radicalism for which Islam is capable. Iran was really the first, and we couldn't have imagined that. Even the Middle East, I don't think, could have imagined that, how bad it got. So keep that in mind. Someone mentioned where these people are going to flee to. I'm kind of concerned about that. I suspect they're going to flee to Central and South America. So I'm a little worried that we're going to end up with a lot of problems over here. But as far as the impression, when I think back to the Iranians I met who were refugees directly after the revolution, who, like I said, called themselves Persian, I noticed they didn't really comment on it. And these are people that would be like in their 70s and 80s today. I remember them mentioning kind of some of the opulence, but I think you're exactly right. And the West is doing that now. They were too picky when they had a good thing. No government is going to be perfect and do the right thing all the time. Even our own. I'm American. And you will have good times and bad times. And you have to remember that you live in a very free society and cherish that. As far as going to the future, the young people that are going to be setting up Iran today, they're going to have to come up with their own template because the previous generations didn't have one. So you really don't have anything to look back on as to how to deal with the concept of radical Islam, because my generation, and I'm in my 60s, we screwed it up. And not out of stupidity. We just were ignorant. We didn't do it out of meanness or even greed or our own benefit. I really don't think at the time the average Western citizen had a clue as to what would happen. It's not excusing it, but we had a lot of hubris, and unfortunately the Iranians paid the price. And I have to admit, I'm so thrilled to see the end. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. They were supposed to go to Venezuela. That was their plan. That plan doesn't seem like feasible anymore. And the reason why people call themselves Persian instead of Iranian, which is the proper name, is because the Islamic Republic was radical and Iranians didn't want it to be associated with that. So they used the word Persian just so that because people refer to the Islamic Republic as Iran, and a lot of Iranians didn't want to be associated with that. And that's why they used the word Persian. And yet, I do think the Iranian people today are very well positioned to fight against radical Islam because they are radical Islamophobes. And I think the Iranian people understand the values that make a society great better than most people around the world. They understand, like a lot of people, they understand the importance of freedom, they understand the importance of secularism, and not because they are like inherently wiser, but because just in the way that as somebody who's thirsty understands the value of water more than somebody who's not, the Iranian people now understand the value of freedom, secularism, free speech, and all of these other values more than most people around the world because they saw what happens when you don't have them. All right, so who's next? You're muted, Essie.
Yeah, Babak is not right now.
First of all, it's a new webcam I have, so I'm just gonna ask. I can see the pictures fine. I mean, you can even see my pimple. Is the sound good?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good. Yes, it's pretty good. You know, it's
Cool.
good. Yeah.
First of all, I'm from Iran. Guess my name already told that out. English is not my first language. I live in Denmark, so excuse me for my linguistics. But just a quick question, because I don't know many Iranians here in Denmark, because there's really not many of them. Most here are Arabs. So I've met a few, but I've seen a lot on the internet from other Western countries. First, I thought, wow, you see here in Iran, they are bumped with propaganda about hating Israel, but they don't. But then I saw Iranians in other Western countries, they are also very pro Israel. I'm trying to figure out what's the mentality of the Iranians. I mean, I am Iranian, but most of my life I've lived here in Denmark. I came here when I was 5 years old, so that's 42 years. Yeah, I was born when Khomeini, couple of days after Khomeini came to power. What a time to be born, eh?
So your question is why are Iranians in
What
such love Israel so much?
No, what's the mentality of Iranians? Because I'm
Oh.
trying to understand. Because
So
I'm
so
pro Israel too.
well,
Just so
there's a
we are
modern answer, there's a more
speaking.
recent answer, and there's a ancient answer. Okay, so recently we fell back in love with Israel. Okay, because of them killing our enemies more efficiently than anyone in the world, right? So think about Israelis coming out and killing Nasrallah, Ismail Haniyeh, Hajizadeh, Bagheri. I mean, how could you not love that? You know, these are our enemies, and they're so effective at taking them out. So, and also Israel's enemy locally is the Palestinian cause, which the Iranian people hate more than anything because they consider the Islamic Republic to be part of the Palestinian cause, the resistance. They don't consider the Islamic Republic to be Iranian. They actually, it's almost like a Palestinian invasion of our land, right? So Israel is fighting the resistance, which is basically the same resistance that has invaded our country. So we have a mutual enemy, but also because they're anti the Islamic Republic, and they're also fighting Islamic ideology. The same people who are trying to destroy Israel are the same people who destroyed our country, right? So we have a mutual enemy. So you think our goals are aligned, our interests are aligned. and we also have similar values. We live in an area in the Middle East where everybody is fighting for death. It's a cult of death. So the nation of Iran and the nation of Israel are the two groups of people that are fighting for life. They're fighting for freedom. They're fighting for prosperity. Okay, in this insane part of the world, these are the two same group of people. So we have the same enemy and we have the same goals. We have the same values. So that by itself is enough for us to connect with each other. The young generation also realizes that we also had an ancient connection with each other. So we have a new connection, but we also had ancient connection with each other that we forgot because in the past 50 years because of the Islamic Republic, and now we're being reintroduced to that ancient connection with each other. And Cyrus the Great is a major symbol for both Jews and Persians, and it's a symbol of unity between Iranians and the nation of Iran and the nation of Israel, and we bond over our shared history and our historical bonds as well.
I've talked to a lot of Israelis on Omiti, and one thing I figured out is we think the same, we talk pretty much the same way, we act the same way. I mean, we Iranians are a little more goofy. That's how we are. We are. Come on.
Yeah.
Basically, we are just the same. They're the closest we have to brothers and sisters.
We also have a Middle Eastern thinking and a Middle Eastern head, but we are refused to be Arabized, which is something that connects us.
Connects us. Oh my God. Yeah, that's a good answer. All right.